All right, you're in for a treat. This video is a step-by-step guide that will help you buy your first self-storage facility. Let's break it down. First, you got to find the self-storage facility. So before you can buy a facility, you have to find the one that fits your criteria. There are two ways that we find self-storage facilities. There's off-market properties and on-market properties. I prefer off-market properties because you can find better deals that way, working directly with the seller. So how do you find off-market deals? My favorite way is direct mail campaigns. So we send letters or postcards to the facility owners directly. We find these lists from Info USA, Exact Data, Data Axle. These all can help you find general mailing lists. There are more expensive services like Yardi Matrix or Radius Plus that can get you targeted lists, and they just cost a little bit more. Or you can hire a VA in the Philippines to scour parcel maps and build you out a list of your own for where you want to buy your deals. So once you have the data, you have to skip trace the owners to get their phone numbers and contact them. Some of the data you can get won't have the owner's name because it will be owned by LLC. So you have to do the research to find out who owns that LLC. You can do that by going to the Secretary of State website for whatever state you're in and see if the owner's listed there. Once you get all the owners' names, then you go and skip trace the list to get the phone numbers. I use synergydata.io for my skip tracing. There's a discount code in the description for you guys in the link below. So go and check that out. So you have the data now to start cold calling, to start the conversation with these storage owners and build relationships. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for motivation. We are looking for those who are looking to sell now or in sometime in the very near future. If you want my cold call script, there's also a link below in the description below for you to grab that for free. So go ahead and click on that link. Another way to find off-market deals is networking. Join every real estate group, a self-storage association. Let everyone know that you are here to buy self-storage deals. I do this on my social media also, obviously, and people bring me opportunities. I have bought properties from my social media. I have bought deals. I am contracted right now on a deal from going to a local real estate event and just connecting with folks and letting them know I buy self-storage facilities, and they brought me a deal. Another way to find opportunities is driving your area to find these self-storage facilities. In real estate, they call it driving for dollars. It works the same way for self-storage. You want to drive around looking for the ugly self-storage facilities, the ones that look poorly managed or underperforming. You know, not the big name brands. You're not buying Public Storage. You're looking for the mom and pop owners. So go there, park your car, go inside. Don't be scared. Start the conversation. Take action. So the other way you can find deals is on-market deals. This is pretty much you're going to deal with brokers. You're going to talk to real estate brokers, commercial real estate brokers who list self-storage facilities. You're going to call these brokers. You're going to let them know your buy box, and you got to sound confident in what you're saying. So you want to really watch a lot of our videos and know how to speak self-storage language. So you want to get on their buyers list. They send out properties to their buyers list before it hits websites like LoopNet. Speaking of LoopNet, those are the other websites you want to go look at. LoopNet, Crexy, they list these commercial real estate properties like self-storage, and they're typically on there after the broker sends it to their preferred buyers list. You know, the list they curated from people calling them and having those relationships. So they send it to their list first. Doesn't hit, then it goes to Crexy or LoopNet. And there's still deals there, but you have to create the deals. You can't just find them. You know, it's not a deal at the list price. You got to go make opportunities, make creative finance offers. So there's also auction websites like auction.com or 10X that occasionally have some self-storage deals on there. I've never bought one, but sometimes you'll see them on there. You have to come all cash though. So once you find the deal, you want to start negotiating. Now you got the self-storage owner on the phone and you want to build rapport. It's the most important thing. You want them to like you, and you want to make a friend. You actually can learn a lot from them. So it's always good to have a real good conversation with them, but you also want to find out in this conversation all the info about the property, so that way you can make and present an offer. You want to know the square footage, the unit mix, how many 10x10s they have, how many 10x20s, 5x5s. You want to know the rental rates, the age of the building, what repairs are needed. You know, do they have gates? Do they have cameras? What kind of software they use? You want to know everything you can find out from them about the property. Your goal is to understand, really though, the seller's true motivation. Why are they selling? Are they looking to retire? Do they, want to go build on another property they have? What's their goal for selling? Are they looking to sell fast, or are they looking to, they're just starting to entertain the idea of selling and entertain offers? In my initial conversations, I'm always also bringing up seller financing with every seller. So it gives you an idea to see if if they've ever thought about it, if they're willing to do it, do they have any experience doing it? A lot of times they've even bought their property with seller financing. So you want to get that thought in their head to kind of see an idea of like how maybe they, if they have thought of it, what's a good down payment for them, or what do they want per month? This will help you tailor your offer to meet their needs and potentially present them with multiple offer options where hopefully one of them is a true win-win for you and them. If you want a full video breakdown of one of my conversations with a self-storage seller to really get an idea of what it looks like and what it sounds like, check out the video right here. So after you get all the property info and you build enough rapport with the seller, your goal from that conversation really should be where he feels so comfortable with you that he's going to give you his P&L, his profit and loss statement. Now you want one from the last 2 years and 1 year to date. So from we're in May right now, from January to May 2024. You want to get the unit mix. You want to get the occupancy report, a rent roll. I like to get the management summary. If they're using a storage software, they'll know what that is. And it gives you all the info you need from the seller to build out your underwriting to make your offer. So now you got to underwrite the deal. So you have all the info from the seller that you need from them. Now you got to do your initial research on the area. You got to research the competition in the area to see where you can push the rents and see what the supply is in the area. How many facilities are you competing with in the area? Is there enough demand from customers in this area? How full are the other customers? So you can use Google to find all the closest facilities, go to their websites or call them, walk into their stores and see what their rents are online. Ask them, I'm looking to buy a property in the area. Can you tell me, how you're doing? How occupied are you? During this process, you want to understand your capital stack and how you're going to fund these deals. So for the debt side, are you using bank financing or seller financing, or a combination of both? For the equity side, how are you going to raise the money for the down payment, the repair costs, the closing costs? Are you using your own money? Are you raising money for private lenders that's going to be in second position? Or are you bringing investors into the deal and they're going to share in the equity? So you have to know your cost of the debt and the equity to truly determine what's your expected cash flow. Can you cover the debt service, your investors' expected returns? And it'll get a sense of the overall deal structure and what the deal returns look like to see if it's a good deal for you and for your investors. And this is kind of an individualized exercise because for one person, an 8% return can be great. For somebody else, they're like, I wouldn't touch a deal unless it's a minimum of 20% cash on cash return. So you really need to know your investors, and for you also, what's a good deal for you. So now you underwrote the deal. Now you're ready to submit a contract, or sometimes they want you to submit an LOI. So an LOI is a letter of intent. A letter of intent is essentially everything that's going to go into your purchase agreement. So it just kind of spells out the parameters and like a short agreement of like, hey, this is what my price is going to be. This is what the terms are going to be. If you're going to do seller financing, this is what it looks like for the payouts, the interest. This is my, how long I need for closing. This is how long I need for due diligence. Do I have a financing contingency? It's kind of like listing all your contingencies. All the things that are negotiable are really on the LOI. Once you have an agreement on the LOI, you pretty much, and it's non-binding. So once you have that agreement, it's non-binding. They can still field other offers. Once you have that executed, it becomes binding. We make it where they're not allowed to engage with any other sellers. So now we get them to sign that, and then we work on the purchase agreement. So then you have your purchase agreement, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it's just the binding contract based on the LOI, ensuring it covers all the contingencies, for that state and what is required. You should always have a lawyer draw up the purchase and sales agreement. So you have the purchase and sales agreement done. Now you're in due diligence. So this is like your inspection period. The due diligence is critical. This is the period, typically 30 to 60 days. You want to typically get as much time as possible. And this is before your money goes hard and is non-refundable. So you want to get to work right away. So before your money goes hard, you want to verify all the information provided from the seller to you. We write into our purchase agreement that our due diligence period does not begin until all the requested docs that we ask for the seller are received. So this typically, because most people don't have their ducks in a row, this typically buys us another extra 7 to 15 days because they had to go gather all this stuff and most sellers don't have it all together. So you're going to ask for the seller's copies of all the leases for every single tenant on the storage facility. The last 3 years of tax returns, a profit and loss statement, a current rent roll with all the customer contact info, if they've ever done an environmental study, all those reports, their surveys, if they have any building plans, a list of the personal property that's going to come with the property, like if they have a lawnmower or anything they're going to keep, like if there's a golf cart and they want to keep it. Past 12 months of utility bills, all service contracts like pest control, lawn service, snow removal, any licenses that are required, permits. You want a copy of the insurance binder, last year's property tax statement, list of CapEx they completed, a list of any insurance claims. You want to review all this information and verify it matches what they told you originally and what matches up with their, their profit and loss statement. So that way, your numbers up front, you can verify them. It's like double verification. Now, some of these mom and pop owners might not have all these things. So you got to decide for you, is it okay? Am I comfortable moving forward without them? Or do you do enough research to find out the information yourself? So while you wait for the seller to get these due diligence docs together, you want to start engaging with lenders. If you're going to use a banker, a bank financing, you want to get engaged with insurance agents. You want to arrange for inspections, survey, a phase 1 environmental study. And if you're using bank financing, we also typically order a feasibility study. A feasibility study is simply a third-party underwriting. The same thing you're doing, they're doing, but it's just a third party. And this helps you with getting bank financing approved and with raising capital from investors because it's a third party stating the facts about the deal. Instead of you just saying, hey, yeah, it's a good deal, these are the numbers. It's better when a third party does it. The bank loves it and your investors will love it also. So for financing, you want to provide all the required documents that they're going to request of you to secure the loan. And they're going to ask for typically last 3 years of tax returns for your personal. And if you have any businesses, they're going to want all the tax returns, all the K1s. They're going to want a personal financial statement listing all your assets and liabilities. They're going to want an REO schedule, which is a list of all the properties you own with info on each property, like how much debt do you have on the property, what's the current value of the property, what's the current income on the property if it's rented, what's your expenses, what's your cash flow on those properties. You need all these items ready to go when the bank requests, because if you, same way the seller doesn't have their stuff together, if you don't have your stuff together, they're not going to take you seriously, and they're going to treat you like you're not serious and not give you a loan. So you want to have all your items in order, because that will be a reflection of how you're going to do business when you buy the self-storage facility and they give you millions of dollars to go run this business. And if you don't have this stuff together, it shows them that you can't maintain your own personal finances. So how are you going to maintain their millions of dollars that they're loaning to you? So next step is the physical inspection. So we hire companies to physically inspect the property. I typically try to meet the inspector out at the property, no matter where it is. I just went to Michigan to go see an inspector and visit a property that we contracted. And I walk with them through the property to get a better idea of what they're seeing instead of just having to read their 90-page report. So they will check on the condition of the building, electrical, plumbing, gates, security systems, the driveways, any other infrastructures of the property. They will make determinations of what items need immediate attention and let you know the useful life of every other item. So this will help you determine your CapEx, your capital expenditures, to create a budget of like repairs needed immediately, and also give you an idea for reserve budget for future repairs, like how much you should set aside each year for future repairs of the roof needs to be repaired in probably 5 to 7 years. Now on the operational side, on site, you can meet the current manager and get an idea of how they run the facility. Is the office clean? How's the office look? Does there need to be any changes there? You can get an understanding of the current operations and see what they're doing good and what they're not doing good, and determine the potential add value opportunities. You can go on site and be like, oh, they're not utilizing this. They don't sell tenant insurance. They're not doing this or this. And so you get a better sense of that when you're on site and get to see how the facilities ran. Then there is the market analysis. And a lot of this can be done by computer, assessing the local market. Look at the competition, occupancy rates, and rental rates. We kind of talked about that already. But when you are on site, I always drive to all the competitors and I assess why someone would choose them over the property I'm buying. And we determine what changes we need to make to compete with the other players in the industry. I also walk physically into those stores and I talk to them and let them know, like, hey, I'm buying this property up the street over here on this road. What do you think about the area? And we just try to extract as much info from them as possible. And sometimes they tell you very little and, or lie to you. And sometimes you can stop by and they'll tell you, you can't stop them from talking. Like, they'll tell you everything about the facility, about the owner, their customers, everything. All right. So At this point, if you're using bank financing, you should already have like a term sheet, which is what the bank's terms are for the lending. You know, the rate, the term, any prepayment penalties, everything regarding the loan. Now, hopefully you should also have a loan commitment. So you should also be in communication this whole time during this process with your investors who are going to contribute the equity portion of this deal. And so as soon as you actually get the purchase agreement signed, you want to let investors know, like, hey, I got something in works, you know, give them the rough numbers of what it looks like to be invested in this deal, what their expected returns are, how much you need to raise. And then after due diligence is over, that's when you start wanting to get hard commitments from these investors and have them start signing the appropriate documents. And again, if you're going to raise capital, you want to make sure you're reaching out to an attorney, a syndication attorney who can help you with this. And then if everything checks out on this property, then most likely now your money's going to go hard. Your due diligence period is over. Your money's hard. You're pot committed to buying this property. So now you want to focus on finalizing the financing with the bank and your equity partners and preparing for the transfer of ownership with the seller and your business plan for the first 90 days of takeover. So prior to closing day, you want to make sure, obviously, you read all the docs from the bank, the title company, make sure everything is good, there's no issues there, and then also coordinate with the seller for how to handle the transfer of ownership. And so essentially, you also want to make sure that the insurance is in place, utilities are set to be transferred over the next day after closing. If you're going to change the software that the customers are using, he uses ESS, Easy Storage Solutions, you're going to change the storage. You want to make sure all that's handled ahead of time. So make sure that you can accept payments that day and sign up any new customers who walk in or sign up to rent a new storage unit. So for me, I like to be physically on site the day of closing to handle the takeover. I'll typically book out a week and be there for a week of takeover. And I would want the manager I'm going to hire to be there with me on day one. Now, sometimes I do keep the manager who is on staff already if I think they're a good fit and, you know, good for the job. And Google reviews will tell you a lot about the property manager currently working at the property. And I've seen Google reviews where they say the guy's a drunk bum, you know, so obviously you don't want to hire that guy. So obviously during that process, you want to decide if you're going to keep the existing staff or bring in a new employee. So at our facilities, we look to reduce the payroll as much as possible, which is typically like the third largest expenses: taxes, insurance, and then payroll. So what we do is look to hire someone part-time to run the facility, capable of small repairs, you know, cleaning out the facilities, maybe changing a spring, things like that. And we want them to ideally live as close to the property as possible. You know, if they're 5 minutes away, it's a lot easier to have like an on-call by appointment, you know, manager. And so we want them to check on the facility like 2 or 3 times a week, be there for like 2 or 3 hours on those days, and kind of be available by appointment if possible. You know, a normal manager would cost you between $2,000 to $5,000 a month, depending on the size. And with our property managers, we pay them $20 an hour, and they make roughly about $800 to $1,000 a month. Now, for much larger facilities, like we have one in Houston, outside of Houston, that's like 80,000 square feet, and it has like 200 parking spaces. I pay that manager the same $20 an hour, but that manager works 40 hours a week. So that property, specifically for that property we bought, that was the manager before. It was their maintenance lady, and we kept her in place because she's really good. She's a rock star. And so, but they also had another manager, and they had overnight security, and those are the things we cut, you know. So they had a large payroll. The payroll was like $150,000. So it was crazy high. So for us, we cut that, and obviously it was high because the manager was the owner's daughter. So he paid her a great salary to run the facility, and she did everything. So we were able to cut her salary, saved us a lot of money, and we cut the overnight security and just put in amazing cameras all over the property, and it covered, you know, better than what an overnight security guy will do. We were able to significantly cut payroll, but we still have someone on site 40 hours a week, and the reason on that facility is because it's much larger. So you need a lot more people there, because a little facility, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 square feet, you can get away with having somebody there 10 hours a week. So besides your manager, you also want to have contacts for vendors for ongoing repairs and maintenance that a manager can't handle. So like, you know, HVAC, electrical repairs, even landscaping. You know, we typically ask seller for referrals, and we find some of our own also. We use Thumbtack a lot, and but we want to build a list of vendors that you can depend on. So now you have all that set up. It's takeover day. You want to have ready a welcome letter, a welcome email, ready to be sent out right at closing, updating the customers of the new ownership, how things are going to be handled, any changes in policy, how to pay moving forward, changes like you're not going to accept cash anymore. You're going to give them an idea of upgrades happening to the property and what they can expect. And you also obviously want to provide all your contact information, so that way if they need to get a hold of you, they have the new emails, new phone numbers, new websites, everything is there for them on one piece of paper. So we put into our purchase agreement that the seller agrees to a 30-day coaching period where they will assist us with anything we need for the first 30 days of ownership, because there will be always customers who are going to pay the old way. They don't read the letter. They don't check their emails. They moved and we don't have a proper address. So you want to make sure. Another thing is we put signage, that same welcome letter, we put it on the property. So in case they don't see all that stuff, they actually can physically see it if they go to the facility. So it's important to have good communication with the seller after takeover and put that 30-day agreement into your property, because it's very helpful when they work with you to get everything situated, because the first 30 days is the toughest. So if you have a lot of CapEx to do on the property, a lot of repairs, you want to have that started immediately. So day one, you want the fence guy installing the fence and the gate, the camera guy there installing the gate and the new lighting that's going to go up, any changes to the signage, branding, all that stuff. We want to do that like right away. So you want to make sure you update the Google My Business page. That's very important for marketing. You want to update all the leases and send them out to every customer. You want every customer to sign a new lease with you. Do everything right away. After we make the changes and additions, that is when we typically begin our rental increase. So we want to show all the added value we did. We made it more secure. We added lighting. We added cameras. So it's a better facility. Now we're going to increase the rent to what the market tells us we can increase it to. Buying your first self-storage facility is a complex process, but with careful planning and execution, it's entirely manageable. I've done it 11 times. So use this guide as a roadmap to navigate each step, and don't be afraid to seek help from professionals like brokers, attorneys, property management experts, and even from me. I actually have a community called Creative Investor where I help people, not so different from you, start investing in assets, whether it be self-storage or multifamily or even single-family houses. We help you through the entire process, like how to market for properties, how to underwrite these deals, helping you negotiate the properties to have great creative finance terms, hiring the right people, and even getting on the phone with the seller to hash out the terms. Now, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, go down to the link in the description labeled Creative Investor and book a call with me and see if you're a good fit for our community. If you don't want to get your first deal right away, if you don't like your hand being held from marketing to negotiating to setting up the financing, closing the deal, and your first 90 days of takeover, then just save this video, watch it on replay again and again and again, and start putting this guide into action and go get your first self-storage facility on your own. It's possible. People have done it. So after watching this, if you actually think that, man, this is too much work, I don't want to do any of this stuff. This is way too much things. It's too complex. But you are sitting on capital and you would like to be a part of future deals. There's a link below. It's going to say learn. Click that link and let me show you how to passively make money in self-storage. Hands off, without having to do all these steps. You work with someone like myself who can teach you how to go through this process and be completely passive investor in self-storage. So click the link below that says learn. So my last request, hit the subscribe button. Half of you aren't subscribed. I'm really doing deals. I've purchased 11 properties. I've sold 3. I'm under contract on 2. We're giving you fresh information, what works right now in this marketplace. Subscribe. Don't miss this valuable content.